Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Athena's Listening Crew. I'm Renee.
And I'm Lina.
We have another episode of Trailblazers and Chasers. What you got? What are you drinking today?
Well, this is from your familiar neck of the woods, Willamette from Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
the wineries out there.
Nice.
This is one of the wines
Willamette.
um, my
It took me
daughter brought back with her. So
nice. Took me 6 months to learn how to say Willamette. I used to call it Willamette.
that's what I was saying when I first went up there. And they're like, no, it's Willamette.
Willamette.
Okay. Once someone corrects me, I try to remember.
And it's every place I've ever moved, there's always one like name that I have to like learn and practice. Like Washington, it was Puyallup. I got that within like 3 months. Well, I've got
Yeah.
Stella Rose Peach Rose, which is my or peach, Stella Rosa Peach, which is my favorite. They got a new label, so I started 'cause it's even the same. I'm like, why are you changing the label? The label was awesome to begin with. But anyways, peach is one of my favorites.
Perfect for a Sunday morning.
Yes.
So if
Yes.
anybody's watching us, can you see?
We just kind of rolled out of bed and just jumped on
To
kind of
take
thing.
a shower. I try to do my hair, but I just decided to air dry it.
Plus, like here I am supposed to have a relaxing weekend, and I've got to tell you this. Saturday was just I'm recovering from Saturday, and I didn't even do anything fun on Saturday, right? So here I am, but no shit, there I was, 1:30 in the morning, just sleeping away, just enjoying my dream. And then all of a sudden my dog like jars me awake because she like jumps into me and lays there. My dog is not a snuggler whatsoever. She does not like to cuddle. So I'm kind of petting her. I was like, okay, kind of what's going on? And I could feel her moving around. And I'm kind of seeing her by like the ambient light from all this technology that's in here. And I'm like, she's looking around. I'm like, okay, something's going on. So I start listening and I'm not hearing anything. And she's really like jarring her head around. And so I turn on some overhead lights and I'm like, what's going on? I'm looking. I'm like, I'm not hearing anything. So I'm like looking for flies, bees. And then my next thought was like, my God, is there a scorpion in the bed? Because like, but this is the desert, right? It
Yes.
happens.
Mhm.
And so and then I also had the thought, like, well, maybe she's having one of those old dog syndromes, like she's having like the kind of like seizures kind of thing. So I looked at
Mhm.
her eyes, nothing, and she keeps looking around. So the more she looks around, the more I'm getting freaked out because now I'm looking for scorpions, snakes. I'm like, what else is in here? Like, because she normally doesn't get scared. She's a timid dog, but she normally doesn't get scared. And she kept
Right.
trying to climb onto my lap. And this is like an 80-pound dog, right? So she's trying to climb onto my lap. And for like a half an hour, she was breathing heavy. So for like within like 10 minutes, I really started freaking out. And 4 hours of sleep, I'm tired. And now I'm freaking out. I was like, I'm like, okay, deep breath. We got this. She wanted outside. I was like, fine, we're gonna go outside, but we're not going to walk far because there's javelinas and coyotes around here. So I'm like flashlight, all the lights on, and she comes back in. She's not afraid to come back in, but then she wants to go back outside again. And I'm telling you, half an hour just sitting there trying to figure out what's going on, nothing, and she finally falls back asleep. I'm like, whew, whew. So we get up in the morning.
Kid.
I was like, okay, still trying to figure it out. Then I'm also thinking, are there wasps coming in through the vents and stuff? So my mind just went down the rabbit hole.
Right.
So wake up, I need coffee. I'm tired. I'm like, okay, well, let's go to the dog park. So we go to the dog park. I come back, and all of a sudden I realize there's like a 6 inch rip in my pants right on my underwear line. And so now I'm like, was I running around the dog park with like my butt showing to like everyone? Like I'm like, I'm just gonna hunker down. Saturday just was not the day. I'm just hunkering down and watching some TV. And I'm like, no one said anything. So maybe it happened when I got home, but it wasn't cold, so I felt no draft. Like there
I was gonna
was.
say, if you were bare bottom, you wouldn't know because it's hot and dry here. So there's no breeze.
So then I'm like, what underwear do I have on?
Um,
Well, that also made me realize I need to go shopping because I'm running out of clothes because I'm wearing through all my clothes and I'm just not shopping. So now I actually have to do shopping, which is like my least favorite thing to do for clothes. But anyways, how's your weekend been?
Friday, I had such, and I'm not, I talk about alcohol like I drink all the time. I really don't. I do have lots of bottles of wine, but I've carried them everywhere. Like I've moved several
Hmm.
times and I packed the same bottles of wine. But Friday, I had such a so guess where I went? The place you took me to last time, Calle Tepe,
Yeah.
and I
Okay.
had me two palomas.
Okay. Nice. I love that
And
place.
I felt like I was there forever. I had two palomas. I had the ceviche, which
Mm.
I was impressed with the last time. And
Mm-hmm.
then I amazingly, because see, I'm half Japanese and I got the Asian flush. You know, the thing we're missing an enzyme or the thing in
Mm-hmm.
our liver where typically I can go red.
Mm-hmm.
Tell like just from drinking one glass. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm blasted, it's just drink. But for some reason, and she put tequila in there because the moment I took a sip, I was like, oh, she was very generous. And but I sipped that thing down and then I was like, oh, maybe I could handle a second. And so I did the second one and I went to the bathroom and I'm like, I'm good. Like I don't look bloodshot. I was like, I'm holding it. I was very proud of myself. And what was weird was when I got back home, I'm like, it's only 3 o'clock.
That's
I
right, because
didn't,
you left
at three
early.
o'clock it started the happy hour. I thought I was already in the happy hour. Saturday I held back a bit. It was a good day Saturday. I got a lot of stuff done. And then I'm having a glass of wine today, so yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really good.
Well, I don't recall when we went there last time. For those who don't know, in Tucson, there's a place called Calle Tepa. Tepa
Mhm.
or Tepe? And it's awesome. And like when I walked in this place, I thought it was really weird for me because coming from where I came from, I've never seen anything like it. When you walk in through the front side, and it looks
Mhm.
like a fast food joint. But if you walk around the corner, the end, or if
Mhm.
you come in through the back, you walk right into the bar. So there's a bar in the back and then like fast food looking restaurant in the front. And it's actually really good food. And they've got a
It
salsa
is.
bar. Yeah.
It is. I recommend it to anybody. If you're in the Tucson area, or you're from here, you don't know what Calle Tepa, I want to pronounce it right. It's off of Broadway. Well, I know Broadway is a long, long.
And it's not Wilmont, is it? Yeah, Wilmont, I think in Broadway.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
Calle Tepa,
Tepa.
Tepa.
Yeah.
And you park in the back. Yeah, you'll come to the front if you see it, but go in the back because that's where
Yeah.
the entrance is.
And
Go
they have
back.
outdoor seating in the back too, and it's nice on the
Yeah.
back side. If you park in the back, come in
And
the
I was admiring this one dude that was there. You know, he spoke Spanish. One, I just was like, I wish I really spoke Spanish. And then
hmm
two, just to strike up a conversation with somebody. And I was telling, the person I was with, and I was like, I wish I could just be one of those people. I just stroll up, sit at the bar, and just talk to strangers
hmm
without them even thinking that I'm trying to hit on them either. So I just want to like, I'm not trying to hit on, I'm just trying to talk to people. So I was eavesdropping on his conversation too. So I don't know. Yeah, I really do. I really liked how you introduced me to that place, and I was like, I know a place, Kayetepa. I want to go back there. So,
Yeah, and I don't recall you turning red because you just had that one drink when we went, and I don't recall you turning pink after that one either. So maybe they
yeah.
have the good stuff. I don't know because
Yeah,
it
and
is
she
good there.
was nice with, yeah, she wasn't like I tasted the tequila the
hmm
moment I had it, but something about that place, man, or maybe the combo with the ceviche, it just all even killed it, just
That
even
could because you had ceviche last
citrus.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So until it fails me, I'm just gonna keep at it with that place.
I do want to keep looking for like other places, but when you find that one, you just like end up keep going back. It's just because
Right.
I know what to expect. I know what they have. I love the salsa bar. Like it's
There's another spot. It's it's not a Spanish place, but it's called Miramont and it's next to Whole Foods off of Speedway.
hmm
And if you want a one drink, you don't want to spend a whole bunch on drink, but you want one drink with the punch, get the lemon.
drop.
It's a lemon. They don't call it the lemon drop, but it is like a lemon drop, and you only need one.
Yeah, I remember you
Get
talking about
those
that place.
and their fries.
Oh, we'll have to go.
Because we tried to go there, but because summer hours they open at 4 now. Because usually in the winter hours they're open at lunch too.
Hmm.
but now they open at 4 for the summer hours. So because that's where we stop first. And then because there's a neat record store right next to Whole Foods called Zia Records.
Oh
So
yeah. We had one in
yeah,
Tempe,
so
downtown Tempe.
that
Yeah.
whole place too, I hang out. So yeah.
So basically, we can't have a business lunch there for until this winter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was kind of like, oh, but it
Yeah.
is a good spot to have. Yeah, they have
Nice.
other drinks too. And they're really nice people. That's another thing is just kind people.
Hmm.
I'll follow you anywhere. So,
Hmm. Yeah, and the staff makes a huge difference because
mhm.
I Kaye Tepa is the same.
It's the same lady. Yeah, it's the same
I've
lady.
never had a server or a bartender there that was like, ew, right? They all have been great. They're chatty, they get
They
stuff
are.
done, they don't mess around, and they're not rude about it either. Like it's kind of some of
Yeah,
them will
they're
chat with
super
you.
sweet. Yeah.
Hmm.
If you want the down home local feel, that's a place.
Yeah. So awesome. All right. So today's episode, even though we're going to be talking about Trailblazers, but we figured why not just discuss women in podcasts since we are women in podcast.
And I love how you came up with this idea, Renee. So good job.
And I came up with it listening to a podcast. I was like, you know what? We need to talk about these ladies. And then it just went from there. And I was like, oh, we should just do this. And we should just do this. So like a lot of my ideas either come from listening to other podcasts or come from like when I'm exercising or walking the dog. So we're gonna just talk a little bit. We've got our chaser, so we've got our drinks that obviously if you've been watching, you've seen us sipping this whole time because it's good.
So if you
I really
drink,
like my
listeners,
peach.
whoever's listening to us, even if it's just a listener of one, go grab yourself a favorite drink and join us.
Yes, and if you are listening on one of our platforms, thank you for coming back and listening to
Yeah.
us just chit chat about our days. This is awesome. Okay. All right. Let's go on. I started off, I just kind of threw a bunch of stuff down. I kind of want to start a little bit with podcast statistics. And as I was researching this, I was kind of like, well, it's also a little bit skewed because it's not incorporating any of the small podcasts like us. So we're starting with, first of all, let's see, 45 to 52% of the listeners of podcasts are female. So basically half listeners are female. Actually, let me skip down. Let me come back to that in a second. So, women out of 500, the 592 most popular podcasts as of 2024. So, out of only 600. So, there's a lot more podcasts out there. So, that's why I was kind of wondering what the numbers would be for the smaller ones like us. But out of the 600, 33% of those are made up of women hosts. So, only 33%. Um, out of 6,340 podcast study, it was showing 27% were women. So there you go. There's a bigger number there. So 27% there. So we still are making up about a third of the podcast. And then here's some compelling data show points that when a podcast has at least one woman host, the guests become 45%. So if there's at least one female host, about 45% of the guests are female. So when there's no woman host, no female host, only 18% are guests are women. So at least having one more actively brings on more women into the conversation, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it brings a balance, I think.
Yeah, I think it
Even if,
does.
and giving, I'm not kudos to men who then are in touch with their own, because
Mm-hmm.
we're both, all of us humans are masculine and feminine. We got both.
Mm-hmm.
And with the men podcasts, the ones I know I listen to and they have a woman co-host with them, she brings the balance and he's open up enough where or to allow that and they share the both spaces and they have a neat exchange of ideas and balance. It's a neat balance. And so
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, yeah.
I think it does. When there is one of each on, not to dismiss us because we're amazing, right? So,
Yeah.
but when there's one of each, like you said, it does bring on different perspectives, two different like views. It brings on different viewpoints of the world, and I think it just makes it more well-rounded
Yes.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So far, so it looks like about half of the listeners are women. So even for male podcasts, women are still listening. And then this one was kind of interesting. Oh, 90% of female monthly podcast listeners tune into content made by other women, that came from Podbean blog, which and this was kind of also interesting, which moved it this way. 79% of women considered enjoying the host to be essential, while 72% value reliability in the content. So it's not so much of if it's a man or woman hosting, it's more about the
Yeah.
content. But this one is what I thought was cool. 75% of the women who heard a podcast ad took action based on it, and 45% are more likely to consider brands that are supported women hosted
Okay, can I jump
podcast.
in here on this?
Yes, yes.
Because this is how I find products through these hosts of podcasts mention stuff like that. Whether it's not even it's just in their story that they
Hmm.
say, hey, they went there and or they discovered this brand and they're not getting paid for it, but they're sharing that information and in their ads too. That's how I find everything from my mattress to a piece of clothing to houseware to books. I mean, I am one of those. Like,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute, what's that? And I will go look them up, and then next thing you know, I wind up ordering that product.
It's that whole word of mouth
Hmm.
recommendation, even from your friends. You know, you have certain friends that you're like totally will take on recommendations from because you guys seem to think and you've tried a few and you found you run in the same path. And it's also where they're from. Because I remember when I was living in Washington too, I was trying to find a Mexican restaurant that was good, right? And I kept asking around, and it was. And this, I don't even know how you want to phrase how you want to take this though, but I remember thinking I took the recommendation of the Hispanic people telling me restaurants and not white
Hmm.
people, and I'm white because I'm like I don't want a white Mexican restaurant. I'm from Arizona. I want an authentic Mexican restaurant. So it was really interesting. And I remember one guy telling me something, and I was like, listen, I'm from Arizona. He goes, yeah, well, I'm from Texas. I was like, okay, let me try that then. Like, it's interesting when they're from a certain area too, because
Yeah,
they
because it's
understand.
Tex-Mex. Yeah, because a lot
Hmm.
of Texas is Tex-Mex. Mm.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, awesome. All right. So I'm going to break down the genres now. And, it's interesting. This is kind of interesting because on
yes,
social media,
let's.
you always see the memes about having to be careful because women are all into true crime and like true crime documentaries and stuff like that. And it's actually, it's not all
Why do
women.
you think that is? Because
It,
you have 53%. That's like over half. So why do
mhm.
you think we're so interested in true crime?
I don't know, solving equations. It's a problem. It's I don't know.
Is it
That's
like a
actually something really,
safety thing? Like, because we have to be so aware. I don't know. Or just fascinating.
yeah.
I was just thinking, I was just like, wonder why. Like, we're just so drawn to it.
Yeah. I mean, I was drawn to American Greed too, because a lot of these things, not what's that? Oh my God. As soon as someone says, I know the show, and it's all about crime, like killing, um, deaths and stuff like that. Forensic Files.
Mm.
But that and like American Greed, if you watch them, they tell you what not to do, like what to be careful, what to look out for
Well, it's just like a scam.
unconsciously you're learning these things, and maybe that is with true crime. We're learning what to start the red flags, what to kind of unconsciously stay away from, and plus it's solving a problem, an equation kind of thing,
Yeah.
and
So
we
do you
like
think
to
like, yeah,
fix.
it's like, because we always have to kind of, because that's another layer, right?
Hmm.
It was actually a male comedian who said it in a show, Trevor Noah.
I
And
love him.
he had brought up, he actually came through Arizona and we were there. I was there with my daughters and he brought up a good point. And he's like, we men can walk outside whenever we want. He goes, women have to think they might want to walk outside at 3 a.m., but they can't. Or they have to make sure where they're at is okay to walk around at 3 a.m. So there's just like another layer of like having to be aware. We're constantly alert about safety, right? Whether
Hmm.
it's safety for ourselves or safety for our children or safety for other people. It's, and especially for ourselves. So I'm wondering, and then the point of empowerment is like trying to solve, right? Making sure that we know now, we know what to do, we know we take these defense courses. There's all these things. So I don't know, maybe those things factor into the more we know too,
Hmm.
more we can look out for those things. I don't know.
Yeah, because I saw somewhere where, like if you Google women's safety items, what comes up is completely different than when you Google men's safety items, like two separate things. And I remember having a conversation with someone about like doing my contract work on a military base in the Middle East, and they were naming out places. And I was like, no. And they looked at me, I'm like, I'm a woman. And they were like, oh, and it's like there's things they just don't think of when it comes to work. I'm like, I would not be able to go off base. I was like, I don't want to live as a woman. I don't want to be doing that. And so we do have to think differently about what we do, where we go, all that stuff. Yeah. So, all right. So, our society and culture, about 43% are led with female hosts. News takes about 41%, which is kind of cool because growing up, it was always men and a few token women. And now, so it's almost half, 41%. Education is about 40%. And this one actually was not surprising, especially around tech. Business and tech takes up about 7.7%. And so I know there's a lot of someone who was trying to start up a like an app or website, a program to help like women in tech to network
Yeah.
because they are such a minority.
Yeah.
So that wasn't not so surprising. Sports and fitness, 18.9%, which when it comes to when you look like at Netflix, when you look at all the like football, basketball, baseball, those are mostly always men. But when it comes to fitness, I think it's probably a little bit female heavy, even though there are men that still do it. So I was kind of surprised that number was still kind of low on the low side to me.
I think it's going to rise, but you do see it more in like a ESPN arena, those type of the TV shows. I've noticed there's a rise in there, so I would assume that it'll shift over to the podcast area as well.
Hmm.
What I saw the other day was really cool. I mean, it was about women's softball, so they were
Hmm.
narrating, commentating, moderating the women's softball, and it was all three were women hosts, and and one was dressed up to the T. She was
Hmm.
going to go to the ball, which I thought was kind of cool. She wasn't wearing a business suit. She was like wearing like some fancy gown. I was like, hey, that's really cool. Like, I don't know. I thought that was kind of unique. I haven't seen that. But she femmed it up
Hmm.
and she was there at a softball game. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That that's a movement. That is cool because if you think about women in business, women they were making women's business attire to look like men's.
Yeah.
And so
Just
women
more
always
tailored, right?
we have
And
to
plungy. But yeah.
you look in sports,
Yeah.
it's about women. In order to be taken serious, we have to look like men. And now I think it's starting to come out like, yes, I can totally love sports and wear a pink dress.
Totally
There
be glad.
was a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, I don't know if you saw that go around. I think she's in the East Coast somewhere. There was a photographer that was starting to take pictures of girls like half in a dress and half in their sports uniform
Mm,
to bring that combination that you can still love to wear dresses and heels or dresses and makeup and still be a tomboy and play sports. Like it doesn't
right.
have to be an either or. And I thought that was really cool. So that's coming around. Yeah.
I'm really happy to see that.
That's awesome.
On a
Um,
side note, real quick,
okay.
also, I went to get my tires checked, right, yesterday, and it was a
Yeah.
girl. It was a chick at Discount Tires. I was like, all right, girly. And then
Nice.
I went and got my oil change a couple weeks ago, and it was a girl.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm guys, I'm just saying, I'm just so excited because this is the first time I saw a woman technician in an oil change like an automotive, and
Hmm.
then a woman technician at a tire store, which I've always usually see guys. So anyway, I had to add that.
That is cool. It's coming around. We're balancing things are,
Yeah.
you know, we're showing up in other areas now that there's an opportunity that we're allowed to do it. Women are showing up in other areas. And FYI, another side tangent note, Cocodona 250. For those who don't know what the Cocodona 250, it starts in Prescott, Arizona, and it's a trail that goes to Flagstaff, Arizona. So it is a total of 250 miles. And I think with the ups and downs, I'm totally going to get this number wrong, but I want to say it's something like 30,000 feet difference of ups and downs. So it's because northern Arizona, so for those who don't know, Arizona is a desert, yes, but that's the bottom half of it. The top half has mountains where our tallest peak is at over 11,000 feet. So we have a lot of elevation gain. The first place winner first time in history, first place overall over everyone was a female. So she
Nice.
came in first, and it wasn't, oh my, I have a my girl crush is Courtney DeWalters. I love her. She did that in Utah. She came in first place overall, like 11 hours in front of the first place male. It was like crazy. But this
No.
woman came in, I wanted a couple hours over the first place male. She slept like a total of like, I don't know, 20 minutes in like this whole time. So I don't know how she did that. But
That's pretty badass.
and it's part of it, women, we were built for endurance, pregnancy, we're built for endurance. And two, it's the ability that we can do that. It's coming out, it's more accepted. Women are more allowed to
Yeah, we
do
know
things like that.
women been able to do this for eons
Hmm.
and eons and eons, but it's so nice to see now that they're able to it's becoming more and more accepted, like without all the, you know. So yeah, it's cool to see.
Yeah. Okay. All right. One last data I wanted to kind of bring on. And then I found this, and I'm like, this is kind of interesting because the data that I brought out before was about 2024, where women were only about a third of the hosts. But the new data coming out somewhere in 2025 showing all the new podcasts are coming out, women are more than 40% of it. So the numbers of that's just the new podcast coming out. So we are increasing
Okay.
that. And
Yeah,
there is a shift to be more like balance in the industry. So it's not about taking it over, it's just finding that balance with men and women in this field, which is
right.
kind of cool. Yeah. So that's awesome.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
So oh, you
So
brought up,
talk to us about the favorite podcast. What brought this on? Because you listen to a
I listen to
specific.
quite a few podcasts.
Okay.
Not as much now as I used to because my ride to work is less than 5 minutes. So I'm spoiled now. But the one I'm listening to now, and I found it just because it showed up on Netflix. And I was like, oh, what's
Yeah, because they're
this?
starting to show them. Yeah, even though it's podcast, they're showing it's the video podcast, really.
Yes, the video podcast, My Favorite Murder. And I was like, huh. So I started listening to them, and it's the hosts are Karen. I'm totally going to butcher these last names, Gil Gariff and Georgia Hardstock.
Mhm.
And so Karen and Georgia, and I started listening to them. I'm like, this is cool. So I go to my Spotify to download the or to subscribe to their podcast, and it's got like 10 years of episodes, and there's like 500 and some episodes. I was like, I am so not getting through all these, but I'm trying. I started from the very
That's
beginning
a
and
long
working my way
time.
through, and I love them because they're funny. And I'm like, and the more I'm hearing about some things they're doing, I was like, they're kind of a little bit trailblazers in their own sense. And it's just kind of a cool story they have. And then they're definitely not the first women in podcast, right? So, but
Yeah.
how they met back in 2014 at a Halloween party and just started bonding over the fascination of true crime. Right. So they just met at a party. That's all it was. So it was really kind of cool. And then in 2016, they launched My Favorite Murders. And so they're on Netflix now. But what I also found was kind of interesting is 2 years after they launched My Favorite Murders, they actually launched a podcast company, Exactly Right Media, in 2018. So they
Oh,
co-founded that. So they have this whole podcast network, which is really awesome. So I'm like, that's why I'm like the kind of trailblazers in the own sense, because they're like, oh, we got this podcast now. How do we host others? And there's actually 22 total shows on Exactly Right Media.
wow.
Yeah. And their favorite catch line is stay sexy and don't get murdered. And and I don't think I listed it. Oh, I didn't list where they came from. I know I have it somewhere. One of them is a stand-up comedian. Has
Okay,
a
well that makes
history.
sense. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if I can find it here about because I think it's Georgia that is the oh, they don't have it here. I know it's somewhere. I don't even know where I found that. One of them is stand-up comedian, but they both have a history in television. Like
Okay.
one of them, I think, was doing some food shows. So they're able to kind of bring in the comedy aspect, which is kind of weird when you're talking about murder, but they're able to do it without being disrespectful in a way.
Yeah.
And they're aware of that too. And if they are disrespectful, the client, the people call them out and they're like, yeah, we did that. We're sorry. Or if the data's wrong, they'll be like, okay, here's what really happened. Someone told us this. And um, so I like listening because they can be it's entertaining to have them on in the background talking. And there's certain things I don't want to listen to, and others are funny. So that's kind of where this whole thing started, was just kind of listening to them.
Yeah, so then when you came up with this idea to do this recording, because the previous thing that we were going to record on, we discussed and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't think of anything for that. So then you brought this idea on, which I loved. So it took me down a mini rabbit hole, not quite as much, but because podcasts are like the long form interviews, chats and stuff. So
Hmm.
when I was like, all right, well, when I was looking around about it, there's this woman, Terry Gross, and she is a journalist. Okay, has some technical difficulties.
We're back.
We're back. So Terry Gross. Okay. So she is a journalist, is now has a podcast through Apple on in from the MP world. Um, Read a little bit into her. She has a program called Fresh Air. So she's accredited with actually creating these long forms like they do on these podcasts. So a lot of podcasters credit her with like she had the blueprint for long form, like relaxed style interviews.
Mm,
She's done everybody, pretty much actors, actresses, subjects, experts. I mean, you name it, she's done it. She's, I think, hit 15,000 interviews in her lifetime. So she started since 1975.
which is a good year. It was the year
Because
I was born. Good year.
that is where ta-da, Renee came into being. So
But yeah, she's so
fresh
she's been.
air. And so yeah, so she's the one that came up with the deep dive, like the conversational storytelling that we all love now and that we all like are
Mhm.
inundating the podcast world with. So I thought, true to form, she is a trailblazer. And after 50 years, she's now handed a lot of it over to her co-host. But I thought that was pretty cool. And because, of course, in 1975, they didn't have podcasts,
Mhm.
so it was through radio. But she has evolved. And as soon as podcasts came on form, they transitioned over. But she did not lose her identity or her intent. And actually, people adopted her style, what she brought in into the podcast world. And I think we've talked about this, where in business, women who've just then changed with the times and kept evolving, but at its center, at its core, they didn't lose the identity of why they created this thing in the first place. And that is true with Terry Gross in the realm of podcast. She moved with technology and came onto the podcast platform, but never lost her true identity, this blueprint that she created, which is the
Mhm.
conversational long form style. So I thought that was kind of cool
That
to,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, because you don't think about podcasts going back as far as it does, because podcast is such a new thing. But it's true. They've always been around, but they weren't called podcasts. You either
Right.
had you said I think it was like she was on NPR. So either you
It was
came from
radio.
NPR,
Yeah.
you were on a radio talk show, and if you wanted something, that's where you got your start from. So podcast is older than what we think it is. So it does have a longer history. It's like but it's just had to morph with technology, which is really awesome. Do you have the name of her show?
Yes, Fresh Air.
Fresh Air?
It's called
Oh,
Fresh Air, and you can find it on RSS.com. Or NPR is really the platform that hosts that show.
okay. I have to check that out, Fresh Air, because that is
Yeah.
really cool. Because I mean, for 1975, for her to start that
Yes,
and stay
because a lot of
successful.
times, there's a gentleman called Marin. He's credited with being one of the first. Mark Marin, he's an actor
Hmm.
too, being one of the first original podcasters when podcasts came about, which is true. However, I thought it was interesting that if you look back a little deeper, the person who really kind of had set out the blueprint for the long form interviews that Mark
Hmm.
Maron did on, jumped on podcast was Terry Gross.
Nice. Yes, that is cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Glad you found that. Yeah, because I was also just starting to look at like what podcast do I listen to? Because I have multiple ones on it on my Spotify. And the other one that I started listening to, I think first was Financial Feminist. And I really like her how she takes it, but I also know there's a generation gap. Like hearing her, but I still follow her because I think it's really cool and support what
Yeah.
she does. But she is all for taking down with the how she phrased it about taking down the patriarchy, like or equalizing it basically,
Yeah.
and getting women financial education so they can handle their own stuff and they know what they're doing. So she's been around. She's really cool. I think it actually started off being called My First 100K, and then she
Ah,
changed it to Financial Feminist.
nice.
So she did that in her 20s. She hit 100,000 savings in her 20s. And then she's got this whole story of working in in the corporate world, moving over. And then I found Tipsy Casting, which is really funny because that was an offset one. Because when I hit the road a couple of years ago, I was like, I need something else. And during that time, I'm like, I think I'm going to start taking up acting because I'm very curious about what it's like to go out for like commercials and stuff. It's not like, and I am no actor. I I know that's not my strength. I know where I stand. I think I do better behind the camera, but I just started listening to them, and that's they actually one's in England and one's in California, and they still make it work. And they're casting companies that,
Yeah.
and so it's really interesting also hear what's going on in the show world right now, like movies
I
and
think
television
that would
stuff.
be so cool. Like,
Yeah.
how easy to land a commercial, but the pressure is off to like be an actress, you know? But commercial pays.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, look at Progressive Flow.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, she
Right?
got it made, and she got it. I think they invited her to do a bit on SNL on Saturday Night Live. And she, I mean, her whole like career is
Mm-hmm.
around commercial. And I just thought, what a fun thing to land and do if you just really just content with like, I just think that would be great. And it just seems like, I don't know if they wind up like you don't have to be a certain type to be on a commercial. The more regular you are, the better.
Yeah, and it's just really interesting, like the whole politics behind Hollywood and who gets hired and what company gets hired to do what.
Yeah.
And it's they deal with just as much that what they have to deal with is crazy. And then trying to become an actor, an actress like when I was looking into doing commercials, they're like, I found a lot that if you are over a certain age, you need to go white because they want you white. They don't want like because this middle age that we're at right now, they don't want that. They either want young or super old looking, grandma looking from
Mhm.
when we were young, what grandma used to look like. So, but it was really interesting, and they have different guests on as well. So it's really that was interesting. And then I started listening to the Good Hang with Amy Poehler because I
Yeah.
love her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
There's other I was looking around and success.com has women in STEM podcasts. So maybe
hmm.
these are less a little bit lesser known, but women in STEM and
Oh,
kind of
nice.
bringing those women to light. They've been working in the science field for so long, but now it's like they're finally breaking through to be able to have a space of their own and showcase their stuff.
Hmm.
Women work well-being. Um, it's really talking women getting together to talk about the how they can foster more inclusive and work environments and kind of like really talking about the realities of um, working in environment, kind of noticing the inequality, the pay disparities, all of that stuff, and them
Hmm.
getting coming together and having that conversation and how to change that. And then Dr. Nadine, uh, she creates the Traveling Black Women podcast, global travel through the unique perspective of Black women,
Oh, wow. What,
adventurers,
what's
called the
that one called?
Traveling Black Women podcast. Yeah, so their
Because,
perspective on their international journeys.
yeah, because I always wondered about that too. Like, in other countries, how are they treated differently and then how's a Black American treated differently than a white American? And part of me thinks that they're treated better because America's connected with white and we are just Trump, right? Anyway, so that's my curiosity, but I'm guessing
Right.
on that and I don't know. So that would be really
Yeah.
interesting to listen up
And
on that.
obviously, I'm not Black, but my daughters are.
Hmm.
And one of my daughters, I remember, um, she had brought up saying that she was listening to an interview or something, who was a Black woman was getting interviewed, and I think she was from the UK, and she came to the US, and she was speaking about her comparison on racism in the UK versus here.
Mm-hmm.
She goes over there, discrimination, racism is kind of like more in your face. It's kind of like you know it because it's
Mm-hmm.
told, it's like really blunt. Here, her experience was it's passive aggressive. It's a lot of
Interesting.
microaggression type. And so that was, I'll never forget when she brought that up to me. That was a pretty kind of like eye-opening perspective for me to hear that, especially through the eyes of my daughter. So I was like, so yeah, I saw that and I was like, that's interesting. That's pretty cool. Um,
That is really interesting because it could be I'm just seeing it wrong, but it almost seems like interracial marriage in the UK was okay long before it was here. I mean, they probably still have the
oh
discrimination,
yeah.
but you see it a lot more there than you do
Yeah, that's
here.
I was because I watch a lot of shows like the
Mm-hmm.
Brit Box and now this thing I watch Acorn.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're based out of New Zealand though. But and I noticed US actors and actors they're jumping over into that realm. Like they
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of neat to see the flip. But yeah, so it is an interesting thing to kind of and that's what I noticed was the diversity. It just seems way more. And if you look at even like our musicians and our actors, like especially our entertainers back in the day, like even Josephine Baker, they had to
Mm-hmm.
go overseas to kind of even get a chance to earn a living in the entertainment industry, to even be given an opportunity. And a lot of them went to overseas where they were more accepted there until they got some type of famous and then they came back. But sometimes even then that they were still treated the same back here. So
Wow. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, Tina Turner moved over to, was it Switzerland?
Yeah, she became
Yeah.
a Swiss
A
citizen.
citizen.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting. And I also just offshoot here too. It does you talk about watching Brit Box and all that. I've gotten really into watching like foreign TV shows and foreign films and just looking the different body languages, how they say certain words, their demeanor, stuff like that. And one of the things I found, and I think this is really interesting, here when we say no with an exclamation point, we're like no. But when I see a lot like South America, middle Central America, Spain, it's like or Italian, no, 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 no. And they like the head kind of goes with the finger and it's no, no, no. And they say it multiple times. And I'm like, I like that. It's not just a no, it's no, 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 no. Like so I'm like, I love it. I love watching all that. I'm learning, like you pick up so much
Yeah,
of
you notice the differences and then you also
Mhm.
notice the commonalities.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys. And it's also interesting to hear their view of America.
I was watching a site. Okay, I was watching an episode of House Hunters International, and they were in London or something, and the couple went over there for a job or something, and they asked the guy that was showing them the places. Then they're like said something about being accepted there, and he's like, "Yeah, the English love Americans," and they're like, "Do they really?" And he's like, "Yeah." Like, like totally hesitated with that.
Yeah.
Um, so
Oh, so
anyways,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any other podcasts that you listen to when we get this up on Instagram, just jot them like
Throw it in the
th
comments,
throw them
please.
in the comments.
And
Yes.
share. So,
Yeah, awesome.
yeah.
And then we have, so stay tuned. Our next episode is we get to interview Erin, and I just totally do not see her last name, Erin Brenham.
Yeah.
So that was actually a really good interview. So stay tuned. That will be posted on June 18th. So it'd be the next one you guys will be able to listen to. So
Yeah.
that's an awesome.
We have a bunch of interviews up, so please go
Hmm.
back, catch them. These are really, really great women doing great things. So we just wanted to highlight them. So hear their story. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And if you want to be on to tell us your story and to talk about your business and how you got there, your journey to and through entrepreneurship, like reach out to us, email us at athenaslisteningcrew@gmail.com. And or if you just want to shoot us your story, if you don't want to be on, we can plug your story too. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, we are low threat, guys. I mean, this is a place to really just get your foot into, coming into YouTube or media to talk about yourself, to promote your business. because if anything, just look at it as a practicing session.
Hmm. If you've never been on and this is some a direction you need to take,
Yeah.
perfect. Like we are low threat, like she said. We're just here to support and to share. So, yeah,
Absolutely. Well,
awesome.
thanks for hanging out with us and through our silliness and all of it. But yeah, hopefully we're a bit entertaining.
All right, everyone, have a great day.
You
Until
too.
next time.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.